This is the Kaizen Way, the show dedicated entirely to continuous improvement. Join us every Thursday for new episodes on popular platforms like Spotify, YouTube, Apple, and Google Podcasts. This show is proudly sponsored by Modern Kaizen LLC, your one-stop shop for robust training solutions for soft and even most specialized of skills. Find them on the web at modernkaizen.com and all major social media platforms. We thank you for joining us. Now, without further ado, here's your host, Mike Monroe.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome once again to the Kaizen Way. I'm your host, Mike Monroe. Today, I've got a great show planned for you guys. We're joined by none other than Joe Mathews. He's got some really cool things to share with you guys, specifically focusing in on a really wonderful resource that he works with on a daily basis. So without further ado, it is my esteemed honor to welcome Joe Mathews. Joe, what's going on? Good afternoon. How you doing? How you been? How's the family?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I am I'm really tired today. I've been going hard for like a week straight, traveling all over the place with work, with side gigs, doing some motivational speaking, and also dropping people on the head, professional wrestling. So I had a busy day that started on Wednesday in Sacramento, talking to state assembly members and congressmen, which then led to a weekend where I was speaking to about 300 to 400 Native American families, and ended my Sunday by getting in a wrestling ring. So I'm tired, and I am chugging this coffee and hoping that God's greatest gift to man will do its business.
I'll pray to that. I love it. So what I guess we can expect from the show is kind of a steady ramp up of energy right by the end of it, because I'm equally caffeinating here. As we get to the end of the show, we're going to be crazy excited and really enthusiastic about sharing some of the programs. So let's go ahead and jump in. Let's get to know our guest a little bit here. So Joe, tell us your name, your current role, and what you're accountable for. And then something maybe unique about you. You kind of touched on something I have a feeling is going to be the primary focus there, but name, role, and accountability, and then something unique.
All right. My name is Joe Mathews. I am a business solutions consultant for Riverside County Workforce Development. And I'm accountable for, I can't say one thing. My job category falls into mainly the fine print at the end of your job description that says "and all other duties as assigned." Primarily, I work directly with businesses, helping them with job fairs, helping them find employees, providing grants. On the job training is a primary one. We'll get into that in the detail in a little bit. Subsidized employment, and a few other things like that with the county, or working directly with businesses. And then all my other duties is I do a ton of outreach. I go, well, like we met, at a chamber of commerce, when I was doing a presentation down there. And I travel basically all over the county doing presentations for Chamber of Commerce. I'll be doing something with the OCIE, SBDC here in a little bit. Don't ask me what all the acronyms stand for. I just know them as the acronym now. I quit trying to remember the name. But I'll be doing presentations with them, explaining OJT and the programs the county has, because they work with businesses. So why not let them have them be a conduit, just like this podcast will be a conduit between my information and the business, and hopefully the business is coming back to me. And then I do rapid response, which is probably the least favorite part of my job, in the sense of I come into businesses when they're doing layoffs. And I do bring a team, and we talk about county resources, like they can come to workforce development centers, the job trainings that are available to them. We talk about unemployment benefits, how to apply and receive unemployment, and then also provide them with information on like Cover California, or explain their COBRA, or different things they can do with their retirement, which that's kind of where I said the other duties as assigned, because unfortunately, a lot of businesses are shutting down. A lot of businesses are moving out of state. So that's a primary function of my job, even though that wasn't in the original job description. So what I'm accountable for is a lot. Everything from helping a business create a flyer, and to, unfortunately, letting people know, like, hey, you guys are being laid off, but here's we're trying to soften the landing, or ease that transition into unemployment. So everything in between those two.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Mhm.
It's it sounds to me like you wear a lot of hats and ultimately have to remain flexible to, be a great resource, right? Because that's my big takeaway is you're just an incredible resource for anybody that has a workforce there. So
Yeah.
I always like to kind of talk a little bit about something, outside of work too. So, what's something unique about you? What do you think is really kind of core to your personal identity?
Oh, wow, there's so much. Okay. So we'll take a little journey here. So I am Native American, Mexican, and Dutch Irish. So, and that's unique. I grew up on a Morongo Indian reservation. My dad's Native American, my mom's Mexican, or my dad's Native and Dutch Irish, my mom's Mexican. So I grew up on the Indian reservation pre-casino. So this is a completely different life. So we grew up dirt poor or broke, I should say, because we just didn't have any money, but we didn't have that mentality of, oh, we're poor, woe is me. Instead, it was like, hey, we don't have any money, so let's go outside and play in the wash. We'll go make our own fun. So I grew up there, raising animals, horses, cattle, deer hunting, rabbit hunting. That some people might not like that, but sometimes that was the only meat we could get was, hunting rabbits. So sorry for any animal lovers out there. However, so I grew up on the reservation. I dropped out of high school, got in trouble as a knucklehead kid, like a lot of us were growing up. I dropped out of high school, but then decided as I was getting into trouble, decided that really wasn't the life path I wanted to take. So I got my GED, joined the United States Navy, spent 4 years in the Navy. While I was in the Navy, I met my wife, got married, started a family, and that basically started changing the trajectory of my life because I was like, okay, I need to be a good dad. I need to be a good husband. Unfortunately, I didn't have good examples growing up. So all I knew is I didn't want to be what was in front of me or what was in my past. And I wanted to be something better. So I just committed myself to being a good husband and father. And it's been a slow journey. It's been this year, this June, it'll be 24 years of marriage. So
Nice. Congrats.
yeah. And I went to college at 30. Well, I went to college plenty of times and dropped out. I stuck with college at 30. Got my bachelor's in counseling and Bible. I went to a little Bible college in Knoxville, Tennessee. So if you want a culture shock, move from Southern California and the LA area, because I lived in Torrance and San Pedro for a while. Go from the LA area to a little tiny town outside of Knoxville, Tennessee, where, I don't know how to explain it other than culture shock, and everybody just moves slower in Tennessee, and that's not a bad thing. They're just not in a hurry to get anywhere, whereas in California, we're in a hurry to get to 5 places, and we're late for all of them.
All at once,
Yeah. So got my degree in Tennessee, was offered a position with my dad's tribe, Morongo Tribal TANF, so I moved back, worked for Morongo Tribal TANF for almost 8 years. And while I was there, I took classes on Native American Fatherhood and Families Association on Fatherhood, Motherhood is Sacred, Linking Generations by Strengthening Relationships, addressing family violence and abuse. I took Native wellness courses. I took positive Indian parenting courses. And the cool thing about all of those courses I took to facilitate, I was able to flip them around on myself and take lessons and apply that to being a husband, to being a father, to being a mentor and a friend. And then was at the same time learning business tact because, I had an education, but no one ever taught me how to be professional. And if you know anything about growing up on an Indian reservation, and that's not a very professional, it's a very, let's just say language wise, it's very relaxed. And so, yeah, I stuck my foot in my mouth more than once with people when I first became a professional in the white collar world and not digging ditches. So it was a unique experience. However, I worked there. I had an amazing experience, but then you kind of, and a lot of people can agree with this one, or I can't think of the word. They'll feel me, for the lack of a better term. You just get to a point where you can't move up anymore, and there's really no lateral movement, and you're just kind of stuck. And even though you enjoy your job, I'm somebody who likes to achieve and continue to grow and continue to move. And I was kind of stuck in a position where Management wasn't leaving. So the only way to move up is if somebody left, and nobody was leaving. So I decided to leave. Like, okay, time to challenge myself. Took a job for 2 months and then got hired by the county. I left Morongo to go to UEI college. As soon as I took the job at UEI college, the county was like, hey, even though you applied 4 months ago, do you want to interview for this job? And I was like, yeah. And then I took it and was like, sorry, UEI, thanks for the opportunity, but I want to go work for the county. And here I am now, 2 years later, as a business solutions consultant. So that's professionally. With Morongo, it gave me the ability and the knowledge to speak to people. I do motivational speaking. Like I said, I just did a Morongo, well, it was multiple tribes together, a family TANF conference. And there's about 300 to 400 people there. And I was emceeing and speaking to them, providing motivation and a lot of other really cool things. Excuse me. So we had a blast, and I've done Native family conferences, men's wellness conferences, family conferences, Native youth conferences, and to segue into another thing that I do, last year at this Native youth conference called Dream the Impossible, we put a wrestling ring right in the middle of Cal State Long Beach, right there on the quad. So a couple hundred Native American students doing this conference and going to all these classes, and then at lunchtime, the bell rang and me and my buddies put on a wrestling event for those students. And not only did we have the Native students, but there's a bunch of students and faculty at Cal State Long Beach who were like, what is going on? And they were, standing on the outskirts like, what the heck? And we had a professional wrestling, match or event right in the middle of Cal State Long Beach. And
that's awesome.
That was a great time because that's my other hat I wear is I'm a professional wrestler. I love entertaining people, be it people loving me as a good guy or hating me as a bad guy. Either way, as long as I'm getting a reaction from the crowd and the bosses keep asking me to come back and keep doing it. That's an amazing experience. I grew up as a wrestling fan as a child and, watching Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake and $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and all those guys. Cause yes, I'm old. I grew up in the 80s. And then having the opportunity to be in the ring and perform like they did. Maybe not on the stage, the level. I'm not in front of 10,000 or 20,000 people. I'm in front of a couple hundred, but still at the end of the day, the kids in the stands, they look at me and I might as well be Hulk Hogan and Ted DiBiase to them because they don't know any better. And it's provided a unique opportunity for me to do more outreach, to me to mentor young students, to talk to students, to go into schools and talk about professional wrestling, but also provide that additional motivation and telling kids to change their dreams. And then also share my life testimony of being that knucklehead kid who got kicked out of school, but now look where I'm at. I've got a master's degree. I'm a professional wrestler. I'm working for the county doing all these amazing things. And, and I love it because it just opens more doors for me to go and hopefully work with young people and inspire them to chase their dreams because, nothing's going to happen if we don't. So as you can tell, the coffee's kicking in.
Yeah. We found some momentum.
Yeah. And sadly, I love working with people. I love working with the community. I love working with kids. And, and honestly, I'm in a position with my current job or I should say career. I don't look at working for the county and workforce as a job. It's a career because I have yet to wake up and have a day where I don't want to go to work. You know what I mean? I get up and I'm like, oh, what do I have to do today? What do I have to do tomorrow? Man, I've got so much stuff to do, but I never feel like I don't want to do it. I thoroughly enjoy what I do for the first time in a really long time. And, Riverside County treats me good.
I love it. And you've got a lot of variety there too. I mean, there's, where you were talking earlier about the details and, all the other things that essentially your job description entails. But I've always found that, that versatility and more importantly, that variety is what makes a job so much fun is that, it's not so much the same thing day in and day out. It's that, you have an idea of how the day is going to go, but it could also go a completely different direction in the best possible way. And you're meeting with people and kind of sharing perspectives and all this different stuff. So I love it. I've never heard your whole story before, so I'm really glad that you shared that with me. I've known you for, I think, about the 2 years that you've been with the county now, because initially we met through the chamber there, which is crazy to think about that it's been 2 years already. But
Oh, I know.
yeah, I'll tell you two things. One, for our listeners here, Joe, beyond all else, is a character. So anytime you're interacting with Joe, no matter what you're talking about, it's always going to be very dynamic and a lot of fun. And then similarly too, I mean, he's just an incredible resource, right? Not only for your workforce needs, but, I catch myself asking him about fatherly advice anytime we hang out as well, just because, I've got a little one and it's all new to me, man. So I'm trying to glean as much information as I can, especially from what I perceive to be an amazing father there. So
Thank you.
I love it. Yeah, anytime. Action speaks very loud, my friend. So with that, let's go ahead and kind of jump in and talk about, one of the big things that, at least for me, I see happen too much, just flat out too much. And that's this kind of barrier between business and these great resources that exist specifically for business, right? And I think a lot of times, we hear the word resource so much that we've almost become kind of numb to it. But specifically what I want to talk about is a program called OJT, or on the job training. And it's a really great opportunity for any employer to be able to recoup some of the funds that is sometimes the hardest part of owning a business, and that's bringing on new employees, right? So It gives you some flexibility in bringing on new people, but it's also a really good way to also increase the bottom line. So I wanted to get Joe on the show here to kind of talk about, the OJT program. So Joe, let's talk specifically about OJT. Like, what is it? How does it work? And who is it really targeted to?
All right. Well, the on the job training program, or we just call it OJT. So it's a mouthful. The on the job training program, it's designed to benefit, mainly because it comes out of WIOA funds, WIOA, Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, which is federal dollars that get sent to the state, sent down to the county, and the workforce development boards. That way, if you want to ever look into it, there's like 1 million pages of federal regs. If you love that stuff, go for it. Go to town on it. I'll take everyone else's word for it. But on the job training is designed to help people who wouldn't ordinarily give a job, or let's say it's to incentivize businesses to hire employees they probably wouldn't ordinarily hire. Now, this could be somebody who's maybe fresh out of school. Maybe there's a kid who 18 years old, fresh out of high school, and is applying for just a receptionist position. This is money that's going to incentivize that business to hire that person, and kind of, entice them to hire them, because we understand that or as a business owner, you're going to invest in that person. You're going to invest your time, your training, you're going to invest other employees' time into getting them up to speed on how you want them to do their job. So what we do is we offer a 50% to, actually it's up to 90%. So if you have 50 or more employees, it's 50% reimbursement. If you have 49 or less employees, it's a 90% reimbursement from now through the end of the fiscal year in June. So we'll just stick with 50% because that's easier math when I give my examples. So we will offer a 50% reimbursement as long as the employee is full-time, so working minimum 32 hours a week, and for up to 480 hours. So if they're working 40 hours a week, 480 hours, that's 12 weeks, so roughly 3 months of employment. At the end of those 3 months, you would provide us with your pay stubs or a payroll summary. If you can give us a one-sheet payroll summary, that's heaven, versus me going through 12 weeks of pay stubs, because that takes a while because we have to verify everything. But at the end of it, we go through, we create an invoice and say you're paying that person $20 an hour. At the end of 480 hours, you're going to be reimbursed $4,800 for that employee's, salary. And that's fairly simple. That's all you have to do is hire a new employee who might not necessarily have the skills for the position, and we're going to do that. Now, they do have to qualify. So low income, so poverty line level or below. Displaced workers, like somebody who's been laid off. Like say when I talked about, I go into the companies and they're laying people off. If we can get those people immediately into another job, the company hiring that person, they automatically qualify for the on-the-job training program. And then if they're a transitioning veteran, so any veterans out there getting ready to leave the military and go into, the private sector, public sector, either or, come see us because we can help you get on the job training. Or any businesses out there getting ready to hire somebody transitioning out, give us a call because again, they automatically qualify for the program. And then somebody who's just out of work. So say somebody lost their job, or say they even just had to quit, like somebody's aunt got sick or cousin got sick, so they had to quit their job. They're out of work for a few weeks. They would qualify because they have that break in employment, because we're helping to try to entice the business to hire them to get them back to work. And this works on multiple levels. We're putting people to work. We're getting people off of unemployment. We're putting them to work or helping them get gainful employment. And this creates a stronger workforce. So you're having these people, you're training them, and hopefully when they leave your company, it's because maybe they got a better opportunity and they moved along to another job. So you have this person who you brought in entry level, they gain the skills, and then they're going to leave. And we all know that happens because anymore, nobody works one place for 25 or 30 years. I don't think they give out golden watches anymore to the people after 30 years and send them on their way. What is the average? 5 to 7 career changes now? By the time you retire, you'll have 5 to 7 career changes. So, but the goal is to upskill people and help them, and then they'll leave. Well, the goal isn't for them to leave, but then, they leave, but you can bring somebody else into that position as on the job training, because we don't have a limit. Say your company right now, Modern Kaizen hired 10 brand new people, brand new college graduates, don't even have to be high school graduates, 10 college marketing wizards, and they've never done it before. All 10 of them qualify as long as they're full-time and they're making above minimum wage. And then, we're not going to tell you, oh no, you can't hire 10. No, there's no limit on how many people you hire.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to kind of know about this program. So like another great example, I was working with one of our clients just on Friday, actually, and they're looking at bringing on a whole bunch of new work, right? So there's these 2 contracts that are about to come online for something very specialized that they haven't really built in the past, right? Mm-hmm. But it's going to require more workforce. So essentially, they're looking at hiring anywhere from 50 to 100 people. Mm-hmm. And I was asking them, have you ever talked about OJT? Do you know what OJT is? Have you talked with your Orange County Workforce Development Board? And they're like, no, I have no idea what any of this is. And I mean, you think about it, and I mean, that's going to be so much savings to the company, mm-hmm. As they start to bring that workforce on. And it's an incredibly beautiful thing. And what's most important too, is that they're WIOA funds, right?
Yeah.
So these are federal funds. So no matter where you are, as long as there's a Workforce Development Board, they're going to have a program similar or exactly like OJT. So, realistically, communication is really the key here.
Oh yeah.
And it's really such a great way to help a business kind of take a stab at what is historically the most expensive part of owning a business, and that's your people, right? Mm-hmm. And then something else too that I really love about this program, and I'm going to kind of let you talk a little bit more about this, but there's a lot of flexibility to it, and a lot more flexibility than people think, right? So whenever I'm talking about, people are always like, well, Mike, what if I bring on someone and they only stick around for a week? So same question to you, Joe. What if I bring someone on and they only stick around for a week? What happens then?
Well, that's the thing. We understand that sometimes employees don't work out. The goal of the program is for you to hire them. They're the best employee ever. You hire, they stay on full time and forever. But at the same time, we understand that sometimes people don't work out. They will get hired on. Maybe they don't like the job, or maybe, they took another job. Like I've had two good examples recently. Is I was working with a lawyer, law firm, and they hired somebody, brand new person, fresh out of like paralegal training or whatever. I'm not sure what type of schooling they go to, but it was a brand new paralegal. We did the OJT. A week and a half later, the lawyer called me and was like, they quit. I'm like, how did they quit? Or not how, but why did they quit? Can you let us know? Because we'd like to know that information. The person said, I realized being a paralegal and doing research for law wasn't for me, and they left. Well, we're going to reimburse the business that time. They were there a week and a half. I'm like, just send me the pay stubs. We'll reimburse you, because we still signed the OJT agreement. The person just didn't work out. And then another one was a person we signed up, and he was doing like window installation or something. He was working for like a window company. And then he left the company, and the business called me and let me know, like, oh, they left. And he was only there like maybe 5 weeks or just a few weeks as well. But he had a Class A license and was offered a driving position with another company that actually he was going to make considerable amount more money. So he left, and I'm like, okay, well, good for him. Like, they were happy for him too. They're like, hey, we would have taken we're not upset. We'd have taken it too. It's a lot more money. And we just gathered the information and we reimburse you for it. So if they're there a week and a half, or they're there for 5 weeks, or if they do the full 3 months, our intent is for them to be there forever. But if they don't work out, they don't work out, and we're still going to reimburse you for it. So there's a lot of flexibility, but the goal is, because we're going to follow up too. So don't get any bright ideas like, hey, I'm going to fire this person after 3 months and 1 week, because we're going to follow up and find out, like, are they there? Because we do quarterly follow-ups. So 3 months after, the contract ends, you'll get a phone call or an email from us. And then 6 months after that, 9 months, so we'll do for a full year of follow-ups just to see if they are, if they're still employed. And
so don't get cute.
Yeah. Don't get cute. Don't try to outsmart the system, because we do track, and businesses that show a pattern of people leaving like immediately after the contract ends, we are going to probably look at them more and scrutinize them just a little bit more of, why do you guys have a history of people of such high turnover? Because the goal is permanent employees, not to subsidize your payroll. Not to be crass about it, but Definitely. But to be honest, that's what it is.
And that's what I was really hoping to uncover, and I'm really glad we decided to talk about that, because really what we try to do here is talk about all these things in a practical sense, right? The practical application of these. So getting a chance to kind of talk about things that people may be thinking about as they're listening to the show here, like, well, I'll just keep cycling 100 employees every 90 days. Negative ghostwriter, not happening. You're going to raise some red flags.
Yeah.
But with that same breath, this is still a great program that exists, that is essentially funded by tax dollars, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're already kind of paying into this program anyways. So it's a really great way to give you the tools to have much more flexible approach to hiring people. And I have to tell you, I work a lot with councils and groups of larger employers, and workforce is one of those things that is a really consistent concern right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not only that qualified people are tough to find, but then in the same breath too, it's also really expensive to bring someone on.
Oh yeah.
Right? So this is a really great tool to kind of help reduce the cost, give you a little bit more flexibility, and then to the point too, the resume and the actual person are usually completely different things, right?
Oh yeah.
So this really gives you an opportunity to kind of see what chemistry is all about, right? And give someone a shot that, maybe you get the idea that this is a really hard worker. So let's see, how the chemistry works, because, a person isn't defined by their resume there. Although workforce development does a really great job of helping these folks, look at their resume, or develop their resumes is what I'm trying to say. And then there's one final thought here that I was cracking up as you said it, and I kind of held it back. But for some of these programs, right? So like shifting kind of focus from the business perspective and looking more at like the hiring perspective, right? Like you're in the market for a job, right? What better way to close the deal that is you're talking to the HR director that's asking you about, whether you're going to be good for the company. Well, it's like, yeah, I tell you what, I'll pay for 50% of my salary for the first 90 days. That should be a nail in the coffin, done deal right there, right?
Oh yeah.
Because you're already saying that you're resourceful. So especially the vets out there, if you're making the transition and there's a company that's maybe high on your list of your want list, maybe a tool for your tool bag as you're talking with that HR director, like, hey, I can also utilize this program and make it really easy for you to to say yes for me coming on board, which is really, really, really cool. So
Oh, yeah.
it kind of cuts both ways is what I'm trying to get here. So Joe, you know, we're talking a lot about this great OJT program, and I really like to focus in on, you know, the practical approach and the practical application, right? So, you know, are there any kind of roadblocks that I need to be aware of, right? I'm a business, let's say I'm a business owner and I want to get involved today. You know, what can I expect from the program? What does the process look like?
Yeah, honestly, it's a super simple process. I know that doesn't sound believable since we are a government agency, because nothing with the government is super simple. However, we make this as painless as possible. We're not asking to see your books. We're not asking to dig into your business, like your business plan or anything. Quite honestly, if a business is interested and I meet with them, we have to make sure they have a valid state employer ID, a federal employer ID, which two simple things right there, a up-to-date and active workers' compensation policy, and having not had a WARN notice or have any layoffs in the last 12 to 24 months. If your business clears those things, you're good. However, with Riverside County, and it's going to vary county to county and region to region, there are specific industries that we don't service. Like most of Riverside County, we will not work with like restaurants and hotels. And just because of the turnover rate, because unfortunately servers and a lot of people in those positions like housekeeping and stuff, that's such a high turnover rate that we don't work with those industries just because it's tough to, it's nothing against them. It's just really tough to keep employees there. However, in the eastern half of the county, like resort towns, Palm Springs and East, we will work with hotels and hospitality because that's what drives that area. You know, so we do change it up depending on the region, but we know, you know, like Riverside, it's not really hotel driven, and that's not the lifeline of the area. It's manufacturing, it's warehousing, it's medical, it's advertising, it's, you know, kind of your traditional construction, like your traditional areas of employment. So
Totally.
yeah, so it is a little bit different. So if you're like a hotel in Riverside, if you're hiring a front end manager, that's going to be different than a housekeeper. So I'm not saying we can't work with you. It just depends on the position. Whereas the people in the desert, they kind of have, it's the desert. They have their own rules. And so I want to make sure people know that too. Like, but you know, the answer is always no unless you ask. So worst case scenario, just ask. And then if we can work with you, great. If not, sorry. But my entire team, the workforce development team, I have an amazing supervisor who, you know, he's top notch, and I won't say his name because he's probably going to listen to this podcast. Yeah, just but he's a great supervisor, and he really pushes us, and we have an amazing team who, if we don't have the information, we're going to help you find the information or find the people who can help you or help you find the answer, period. And if the answer is no, we will let you know the answer is no. So versus just leaving you hanging, you know, at least you'll get a response and you'll get an answer from us. And like, honestly, I love working with our team. They're a great team. They're energetic. They're a bunch of go-getters, and it's cool. You know, everybody's like younger and energetic and wants to get stuff done. I think I'm the old person on the team. So
I love it. You know, I mean, really, it sounds to me like, you know, like all good things, it starts with asking, right?
Yeah.
Because you said something really critical there. It's always no unless you ask,
Yeah.
right? Because it's the only way to really open up the door for a yes there. So worst case scenario, and I'm really glad you touched on this, is that, you know, they really do. They have an amazing team out there. And whether or not you qualify for OJT, which I'm willing to bet the majority of our listeners would qualify for OJT, it's just important to be a part of their ecosystem and be aware of the programs. Because, I mean, we're talking about a program that's been around for a very long time, yet there's still not enough awareness around it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And who's to say that, you know, 6 months from now, there may not be another absolutely fabulous workforce development grant or program or whatever it is that comes out, and you're not going to know about it unless you're a part of the ecosystem. It doesn't cost anything. They're not intrusive with books or any of that stuff. It's just a great way to be in the know and really maximize, essentially programs that are funded by your tax dollars. So,
Oh yeah.
that's awesome. So Joe, I really appreciate, you taking the time with me this evening, this afternoon, to talk about this. This is something I talk about on a daily basis, just because it's one of those really, really great programs.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to have you back in the future to talk about things like incumbent workers. I mean, there's all of these great programs that are available through the Workforce Development Board, but you guys will never know unless you pick up the phone. So, Joe, at this point, I always like to give our guests an opportunity to do a promotion, right? So. I've had folks that say, talk about hiring veterans. I've had someone, tell me about like an energy engineering webinar that they're doing. There's all these different things. So what do you want to put out in the world? What do you want to promote?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, honestly, there's so many great things that we're doing right now with Riverside County Workforce Development. So if you're on LinkedIn, look up Riverside County Workforce Development, Housing and Workforce Solutions. I know it's a mouthful, but there are so many great things, and we're always sharing. We have a new social media manager, so he's always sharing everything we're doing, from job fairs to trainings. The county is always offering free trainings, and if we're not offering it, OCIE, SBDC, the Small Business something CD.
Development Center.
What is it? Development Center? Yeah. Okay.
Development Center? Yeah.
Orange County Inland Empire Small Business Development Center. There you go. There. That's what it's called. Coffee kicked in. I know what I'm doing now. But we're always sharing stuff with them as well. So if you're a business owner, go and see the resources that are out there. Even though it's not my department, look at that Thrive grant. You can get up to $3,500 for just attending 12 classes with them for entrepreneurship or a small business. So check out our LinkedIn. Go to RIVCOworkforce.org. You can find a ton of our resources right there. And then trying to think if there's anything else, and then if you're not in Riverside County and you're wondering, how do I find a workforce development center? Go to careeronestop.org and just click on local help. There's a bunch of tabs, and on the bottom it'll say find local help. Type in your zip code and it will give you the closest workforce development center or American Job Center. Like in different regions, they call them different things. California, it's American Job Centers of California or Workforce Development Center. But if you go there, it will show you where the closest place is to you. So if anything else, just go to careeronestop.org, find local help, type in your zip, and then you'll find somebody and you can reach out to. And workforce development is nationwide. It's federal dollars. Every county has a workforce development board and a workforce development center that you can reach out to who can help you. Like I just put someone in touch with one in Ohio the other day, in Cincinnati, Ohio. So they're everywhere, and it's a great resource, and you've already paid for it. Your taxes have already paid for it, so get your money back.
Thank you. Thank you. It won't cost you anything to pick up the phone to reach out and make that connection.
Was that a sweat equity? That's all you're putting into it.
Right.
Yeah.
And not even a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. So I love it. So you dropped a lot of websites and resources and things of that nature. I'll make sure to drop those in the description of the show. So anybody that's listening to it can kind of go down that rabbit hole and, explore those programs. But, again, it just really kind of stems from picking up the phone. So with that, Joe, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, especially later in the day today, to have this conversation and spread the good word of OJT. Best way to connect with you, should they be connecting with you via email? I know you're super active on LinkedIn. What's the best way to connect with Joe Mathews?
Yeah, honestly, LinkedIn is a great way to connect with me, or if they want to shoot me an email at it's J Mathews with one T, JMATHEWS at RIVCO, RIVCO.org. So like short for Riverside County. So, yep. And
beautiful.
Shoot me an email if you have questions. I'll be happy to answer or refer you to the person who has the right answer.
Absolutely. Shameless plug too, if you'd ever like to have, wrestling squad come out and maybe do an employee appreciation day too. I mean, they bring a cast of characters without a doubt for sure.
And if you guys want to look at that, I was getting away from that. Instagram, trailer_king_EWF. Check that guy out. He's amazing. And that's definitely not what I wear to business meetings, even though it's highly requested.
It is highly requested. I always like to tell people as I'm introducing them to Joe that, yeah, give him a call. He'll suplex your workforce problems.
Exactly.
It's awesome. He's got 2 hats. So as we learned today, he's crazy dynamic and just a ton of fun to be around. So Joe, again, I can't thank you enough for joining us for the show. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in and listening to us laugh and talk about some of these great resources. We'll be back next week, and we're continuing on this arc of great resources for our businesses. I really thank you guys once again. Joe, once again, I'll see you guys next time.
My pleasure.